We all know by now Bud Light sponsoring Dylan Mulvaney. Dylan is a 26-year-old man who prances around acting like a 12-year-old girl. This is one of the first videos he put out.
Day 66, being a girl, and today I'm in nature. Trees, I love them. Water, lakes, I love them. Heels, they're my hiking heels. I love them. Okay, come on.
He was able to parlay that into millions of dollars. All these sponsorship deals, Ulta Makeup, Kate Spade, Tampax. He did an ad for Nike sports bras. What? Sports bras? But of course, the one that got the most attention was Bud Light. Now, when this first happened, my thought was, who in the world made that decision? Who at Bud Light, who are the people sitting around at Bud Light that decided that a transgender person should be the new face of Bud Light? Like, what a bizarre decision. Well, it looks like Elisa Heinerscheid is her name. She went to a $60,000 a year prep school in Massachusetts. Then she went to Harvard undergrad, and then she went to University of Pennsylvania's the Wharton School, the business school. So she's way better than you, way smarter than you. And her LinkedIn says that since July 2022, she's been VP Bud Light, first female to lead the largest beer brand in the industry. Here's an interview that she did on March 23rd on a podcast called Make Yourself at Home.
I'm a businesswoman. I had a really clear job to do when I took over Bud Light. And it was, this brand is in decline. It's been in decline for a really long time. And if we do not attract young drinkers to come and drink this brand, there will be no future for Bud Light. So I had this super clear mandate. It's like, we need to evolve and elevate this incredibly iconic brand. And what I brought to that was a belief in, okay, what does evolve and elevate mean? It means inclusivity. It means shifting the tone. It means having a campaign that's truly inclusive and feels lighter and brighter and different and appeals to women and to men. And representation is at sort of the heart of evolution. You've got to see people who reflect you in the work. And we had this hangover. I mean, Bud Light had been kind of a brand of fratty, kind of out of touch humor. And it was really important that we had another approach.
So two things. First, look people in the eyes. When you look people in the eyes, you can see their soul. That's first. Second, watch out with anyone with a vocal fry. I had a super important job to do. Bud Light put that woman in charge of branding their product. Of course that's what you're gonna get. Like, it makes perfect sense. Like, who else would she hire to be the new face of the brand, if not a transgender person? Because it's not about appealing to you. You're a terrible person. You're a bigot. We got to appeal to people like this. People like Dylan. These people hate you, is what I'm getting at. These people hate you. But it's not just advertisements. Planned Parenthood is pushing puberty blockers on children. Check out this video.
There are medicines you can take to help your body start the process, like hormone replacement therapy. Some people decide on hormones or surgeries to help their bodies match up to their gender identity, or how they feel inside about themselves. Your gender identity is real. You should be the one to decide what changes you want to make to your body. If you're transgender or non-binary, you may find that your puberty experiences don't line up with your gender identity, or how you see yourself. That feeling can be uncomfortable, scary, and stressful. If that sounds like you, know that you're not alone. There are medicines you can take to delay puberty for a while. They're called puberty blockers, and they work like a stop sign by halting the hormones testosterone and estrogen that cause puberty changes like facial hair growth and periods. Puberty blockers are safe and can give you more time to figure out what feels right for you, your body, and your gender identity.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable propaganda. We're going to talk with Chloe Cole coming up in a little bit. She started transitioning at a very young age, and now she's detransitioned, and she's an amazing voice. And one of the victims of propaganda like that. So the idea is that you decide what changes happen in your body. Why? Because you're God now. You're God. There is no God. We've removed him. There is no creator. So you are now the creator. And it's time you worship you. We'll talk more about that coming up in a little bit. A couple points before we get into it all. First, the slippery slope is real. People call it the slippery slope fallacy, as if it's a logical fallacy. You kidding me? The slippery slope is real. The slippery slope is undefeated. And I've never seen it slipperier than with transgenders, with the T's. Never has such a small group of people commanded such a massive amount of attention and changed so many lives and changed culture so profoundly in so short a time. This was a Coors Light commercial only 20 years ago.
I love playing two-hand touch, eating way too much, watching my team win with the Twins. I love quarterbacks eating dirt, pom-poms and short skirts, fans who won't quit, and those Twins. And I love them too. Here's the football.
That was 20 years ago. 20 years ago. And now we get this. Now we get Dylan in a bubble bath. That's a beer commercial. Okay? So don't tell me there's no slippery slope. This whole thing started with the T's in North Carolina because for some reason transgender people needed to use different public bathrooms. It was like weird. Like, what were you doing before? No one cared. No one ever thought about it. It was never a problem. But they had to make it a problem. And they're going to force it down your throat. And when you pushed back, you were the bigot. And now, in that North Carolina bathroom bill, that was 2016. So only 7 years later, a transgender person can murder 3 9-year-old Christian children and 3 Christian adults because they're Christian. And immediately the narrative is, well, we got to watch out for anti-trans backlash. The Vice President, Kamala Harris, she did not go to the funeral for the Christian kids who were murdered. Nor would I want her to, really. But she was sure to make the trip to Tennessee to mourn with the trans community. And you know how much anti-trans violence there's been? None. Like, wouldn't you? Like, all we heard about was how much violence there is, how dangerous it is for trans people. You'd think we would have heard a story of something happening to a transgender person, but of course they didn't because it never happened. There were no trans people attacked in Tennessee. None. There never is. There's no anti-trans hate. There's anti-trans stop pushing this on our children. Stop manipulating our children, stop mutilating children, stop causing permanent harm to children. There's that. But in no way is anyone hurting trans people. So the slippery slope is real. Know that. Second thing, why do people fall for this? Why are otherwise normal people in support of a movement that removes the breasts of healthy 15-year-old girls? Like, what? Here's why. The cause of the transgenders, and really this is true with almost all progressive things, there's a kernel of truth and a noble cause. This is why people fall for things. There's a kernel of truth and a noble cause. You wonder why normal, average, regular people are in favor of teaching little children, little kindergartners, that gender is fluid and you can switch your sex and you're a boy in a girl's body. It's like, what? How can people be supportive? Like, that's really one of the craziest things that anyone could ever say. I'm a woman stuck in a man's body. Like, that's crazy. And for a child to say it, I'm a girl stuck in a boy's body. And yet most people, truly most people in America are like, yep, let's affirm. Huh? Why do so many people go along with that? Because it has a kernel of truth and a noble cause. So people jump on the train, and then as time goes on, the train ends up in Crazy Town, and people don't want to admit that they were wrong and jump off the train. We'll talk more about that phenomenon in one of our podcast episodes, Politics by Faith, why it's so hard for people to admit they were wrong. We'll tell that story on another episode. But the kernel of truth here is, yes, some boys are more feminine and some girls are a bit more masculine. And not everyone fits into a neatly defined box all the time. Also, kids at some point in their childhood may feel uncomfortable with their body. Like, these are all true. And the noble cause is we want kids to feel good about themselves. We want kids to feel comfortable and loved. So you put those two things together, and we're like, well, let's just remove breasts of healthy girls, and let's cut off the genitals of healthy boys. Well, huh? And very few people, once they've jumped on that train, are willing to admit, oof, that was a bad idea. I was very wrong about that. I was tricked. This is very messed up, everyone. I'm out of here. Very few people do that. People's desire to not admit they were wrong is so strong. Look at what they're willing to ignore. Hey, thanks for watching that clip from our TV show. I want to let you know about our podcast. It's called Politics by Faith. And we take the biggest stories that are going on right now, but they all cause anxiety. So we take the story and we try to remove the anxiety from it. There's a couple different ways to do that. We lament it, we bring in a historical perspective because there's nothing new under the sun. We bring in some biblical peace. We talk about something that is in your control with this story. That's where the anxiety comes from. It's out of my control. What do I do? We get anxiety. So if there's something that is in your control, you feel better. So that's the goal of the podcast, and you can download it anywhere. Politics by